Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the second video, and we're going to pick up part 4, part 5, and part 6, 7 with the book Indistractable by Nir Eyal and How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life. All right, let's pick up part 4, which is Preventing Distractions with Pacts. As I showed you in the first video, the part 1 is about mastering your internal triggers, what's really at the root cause. He gives you some tools and reimagining your temperament, reimagining the triggers. Helpful tools. If you haven't watched that video, I encourage you to do so. The second thing is to make time for traction. Time blocks your time. Whatever you value in your life is what you're going to do with your 168 hours that everyone in this world has during their week. So you need to take care of yourself. And when you're with others, you need to value others. So schedule time for others. And when you're with them, be fully present, mind and body. Don't be on your device. Part 3 is about hacking back external triggers, phones, computers, the internet. How do your reading habits? So let's pick up part 4, which is Preventing Distractions with Pacts. Let me move myself down here, and let's zoom in and get started. So part 4, chapter 22, is the power of pre-commitments. So this technique of pre-commitment involves removing future choice in order to overcome impulsivity. So, for example, maybe I'm reading online and, I want to go do this. But if you made a pact with yourself ahead of time, it's harder to overcome it's harder to go do something else when you've made a pact ahead of time. So pre-commitments are powerful because they cement our intentions when we are clear-headed. When you get a little bit foggy, then you can be more impulsive and be okay with it. But when you're clear-headed, I want to set forth and do this, it reduces the likelihood of distractions. Chapter 23, he talks about these effort pacts, and what he means by that is make unwanted behaviors more difficult to do. So have time constraints on your apps. Use other apps to stay off technology. Put your technology a long ways away. Like I have it way over there in the corner. It's really hard to reach my phone. And so that is an effort pack. It's going to take some effort for me to go over there and go get it. So that's what he's talking about in chapter 23. Chapter 24 is he actually talks about put money on the line. Effective if you can remove external distractions. And he also gives a caveat of don't use this if you're a person that beats yourself up a lot. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I knew I was going to lose that $50 I promised to myself because I knew I was going to get distracted. That's actually your telling yourself you're distractible. So don't use this tool, he says, if you beat yourself up. But it can be a good tool if you do this 10 days in a row. There's a $100 bill. There's 3,000 rupees for you for yourself if you can make a price pack with yourself. Okay, chapter 25 is Prevent Distractions with Identity Pacts. That is, pre-commit to a self-image, and that will help you pursue what you really want. So that this is a bit like the temperament. Think of yourself as indistractable and repeat that over and over to yourself that you're indistractable because your beliefs shape your behaviors, but the opposite is also true, and that is your behaviors shape your beliefs. So think about yourself as indistractable. Think of yourself as focused. Think of yourself as a leader who needs to get this done, who needs to accomplish this work for the sake of other people. Prevent distractions. That is your identity. Your identity. You're making a pact with yourself about who you are. Part 5. He shifts now. Those 4 parts, let me go back over to the beginning. Those 4 parts are the core of the book. Mastering, this is his chart visual that he puts on it. So master internal triggers, make time for traction, hack back these external triggers, and then prevent distractions with pacts that you make with yourself that we just got done talking about. So now let's look about making your workplace indistractable children, and indistractable relationships. Part 5, making the workplace indistractable. So he talks about how distraction at the workplace is actually a sign of dysfunction, and a dysfunctional culture results in a lot of technology overuse, which increases the cycle of responsiveness that we talked about in an earlier chapter. And this cycle of responsiveness just keeps snowballing and bigger and bigger and bigger until people just think that they're lazy. People just think they're slow in getting back. People think, but actually what a lot of it is people just don't have the tools in order to be productive. So you need a workplace that is indistractable. And knowing, chapter 27, knowing that your voice, how can you do that? So as a team, fixing distraction is a test of company culture, he talks about. Knowing that your voice matters is essential. Not being uncaring or unchangeable, and it has a positive impact on our well-being. He talks about some research in these areas. So we must let people know that their voice is essential and that things can change in the workplace, and that has a positive impact. Chapter 28, he talks about psychological safety plus open discussions, plus leaders who model focus work. Those three things equals an indistractable workplace. So you can go into more in depth to each of these areas, but it's the fundamentals of really humans and having good relationships with each other. And that is, you know that you're safe with one another, you know that you can have open dialogue, and you have models by which you can follow, especially your leaders. So this is the portion he has on part 5, making the workplace indistractable. Part 6 is about raising indistractable children. Now this one is much more a direct hit for us. Again, I had mentioned in the first video about how this reminds me a lot of some of Jonathan Haidt's work or Gene Twinge's work in Generations. So I'll do a book on a page for us for those Jonathan Haidt books as well. But this has some good nuggets of truth in it as well. Chapter 29 through 33 here. So he's got about 5 chapters for raising indistractable children. So first thing he says is just avoid inconvenient excuses that children can give their parents. Harmfulness of tech is more nuanced than alarmists let on. So he's actually dialing the alarm of technology down a little bit. He says it's not that bad. He says tech panics aren't new and technology is not evil. Instead, what you need to do is you need to help kids manage the distractions, because that has a lifelong benefit, because that's tools that we need to use across our whole life, is how to become indistractable. It's not so much about not having these thoughts, but it's how you process them and what you do with them is the tools that we need to help each other with. Chapter 30, he goes back to internal triggers. He talks about understand their internal triggers, because children actually need autonomy, much to the chagrin of a lot of our parenting culture of today, where we have helicopter-type parenting and control, a lot of control. Children need autonomy. They need to know how to become competent. They need relatedness, and they need a model to follow. So like the workplace one, they need a model to follow. Let's talk about each of these. Autonomy is really the freedom of control over their own choices. as they especially reach that bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah age of 12 and 13, the Hebrew categories of life, are great ages where they become men, they become women, and you need to help them become more autonomous, especially during those years. They need to strive for mastery, progression, and growth of things. They need to master something, whether it's a sport, whether it's a subject. They should want to, and you should drive them to grow in those things, have progression, and even a mastery at some level. Relatedness. People need to feel that they're important to others and that others are important to them. That's a very important part of understanding your internal triggers. It's a core one for all humans. And they need indistractable parents. So you yourself need to be indistractable. When you're with them, be with them. And don't be distracted. Don't give them your leftovers, but instead fully engage with each other. Chapter 31 is about making time for traction together. Teach traction. They need to learn how to take time for things, and they need to learn how to make time for things that are important to them. So scheduling things. I make a list with my daughter. She makes a list of things that she wants to do, and then we schedule those, sometimes those things, whether it's a restaurant or whether it's a hike or whether it's something in the city she wants to do, and then we take time for those things together. Chapter 32 is about external triggers. This should remind you of the 4 core things that are in the first part. It's the same with he's using here with raising children. Help them with their external triggers. Kids that I want this, that's not a good enough reason, he talks about. If kids know how to turn off their external triggers, then they're ready for devices. So that might be a little simplistic, but he's certainly given us an idea there that they have to be able to know that the marketing machines that are on their phone and on computers are certainly there to draw them in and get them into these deeper and deeper rabbit holes, which is a sign of distraction. And they need to be able to focus and time box and turn off those external triggers. He mentions as a side here that kids need adequate sleep, a huge thing. They can't be on their phone for hours and hours when they should be sleeping. And chapter 33 is teach them how to make pacts, like we talked about in some others. They need to monitor their own behaviors so that they can develop skills. Don't underestimate your kids' ability to follow through, and help them make those pacts about what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and what they're going to do during that time. And it's okay for them and good for them to be skeptical and know that companies are motivated to keep them watching or keep them playing. They need to have a literacy knowing that that's what companies are after to pull them in. All right, that was chapter 33. And finally, we've got 2 chapters left in the final section here, which is part 7. And that's indistractable relationships. So chapter 34, he calls it a spread social antibodies among friends. So certainly he has in mind COVID there, but spread social antibodies among friends. What does he mean? He says if one person is in a conversation, if around a bunch of people are in a conversation, but if one person in that conversation takes out their phone, statistically others will begin to follow that minutes later. So don't be the person who gets their phone out and begins to try to listen and try to be on your phone at the same time. He also talks about distractions in social situations, prevents us from being fully present. So be fully present. He's reminding us of a previous chapter, really, and he goes on to list phone, tablets, laptops, and even TVs. TVs are all over restaurants today, and they can be so distracting. People will be looking up at the TV instead of being engaged in the social interactions that should be taking place. So don't be distracted. Find a table that's not by a TV But either way, be fully engaged. Don't be on your phone. Don't be on your computer when you're with each other. And finally, he ends with be an indistractable lover. Distractions can be impediments to the most intimate relationships. You crawl into bed, and what do? You get on your phone, and then you go onto social media, and 20 minutes later, you're asleep. Or you want to be asleep. So don't let social media and those distractions be an impediment to your most intimate relationships. Be fully present and reclaim your time together and be indistractable together. But he does have at the end of his book a one-sentence summary of every chapter in the book. It's pages 228 through 230, and that's really helpful. He's got a website here that you can get some scheduling tools and some other tools that are free for you to use for time boxing. He's got some tools there that are available to you. So this book was called Indistractable by Neriel, and it is a great book for being focused, helping us do deep work, and getting those triggers out, helping you set your phone up so that you can become indistractable, your computer up, gives you some great tools. So I recommend this book, or I recommend knowing the essence of this book so that we can have intentional and deep relationships through the church and church networks. Okay, see you again. Bye-bye.